We actually have a call that came in from Sebastian. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Hi, Les. I'm always trying to protect myself. I'm a homeowner. I have some assets. I have, what my insurance agent described as full coverage. So I have liability insurance and I have uninsured motorist coverage as well. At what point does it make sense to start considering getting an umbrella policy? And how does that work?
Sebastian, that's a great question. Umbrella coverage is typically, it's just like what it sounds. It is coverage that covers everything else. Usually it's attached to your homeowner's insurance on top of the general liability policy. So you have different types of insurance. You have auto insurance covering your vehicles. And so if you're involved in a wreck, or if you cause a wreck, or if you're injured in a wreck through somebody else's negligence, you have auto insurance that will cover you for that. And you mentioned uninsured motorist coverage, which, Sebastian, I'm very glad to hear that you have that, because that's something we've preached on this show multiple times, given the fact that Florida is one of the few states, if not the only state in the union, that does not require bodily injury liability coverage. So the chances, if you're involved in a wreck in Florida, the chances are you're going to get hit by somebody that does not have insurance or does not have enough insurance to cover those things like lost wages, medical benefits that might not be covered by your health insurance or your PIP insurance. So having uninsured motorist is very vital, living in the state we live in, knowing that most people out there, the chances are they're either uninsured or they're very underinsured. But when you talk about an umbrella policy, you're asking for that extra coverage above and beyond. The fact that you have an agent, you mentioned having an agent, that's somebody that's a very important role for somebody. And I would encourage you, if you're looking at insurance or you're thinking about buying insurance, you can do it online. You can do it on the phone. But really nothing replaces the wisdom and the education you can get from a local agent that can talk about local things, local risks, how those risks apply to you and your assets, to kind of coach you through the process. So, if somebody's looking at an umbrella policy, you're wanting to make sure that you protect your assets. If your assets are of a certain amount, and I'm not talking about things like your home. Florida has homestead protection, so if you get sued for something, if you cause a wreck and you're sued, generally speaking, a person cannot take your home if it is homesteaded. But if you have cash, stocks, vehicles, watercraft, you have certain tangible assets that have a value to them, you may want to think about getting an umbrella policy to at least cover the value of those things. And also, if you're engaged in any type of a business or a venture where you might create an additional risk, those are the types of things where you'd want to be thinking about getting umbrella coverage. I mean, it's basically financial planning. I'll use the example of let's talk about a high income earner, a heart surgeon, a neurosurgeon, somebody that makes high six figures, maybe even low seven figures, high income earners. They have a big house. They don't have to worry about that. But they've got a lot of assets. They got a lot of cash. They have a lot of stock. They have some other investments. Maybe they have some rental properties. Maybe they have some other things that are not in an LLC or some other sort of a corporation. If you take the value of those things, you may want to have umbrella coverage on your homeowners that will cover those assets in the event you cause a wreck or you cause some sort of an injury to somebody where you could be personally responsible for that. So, at the end of the day, it's a personal decision. You just have to do an analysis of your assets and, kind of look at it from a worst case scenario standpoint. I have an umbrella policy. So if something were to happen, God forbid, I have an umbrella policy that would protect me above and beyond my regular coverage. And I hope to God I never have to use it, but it is something that is available. And I will tell you the reason I have an umbrella policy is because my policy also goes to my uninsured motorist coverage. So if I'm hit, I've got a kid in college, I got a kid in high school, my wife's a stay-at-home mom, I'm the sole earner for my family. If something were to happen, if I get T-boned by a drunk driver, I've got uninsured motorist coverage, which only covers me up to a certain amount. But the way I have my insurance structured is my umbrella coverage will go on top of that to give me that extra security in case something were to happen to me. I can make sure my family's taken care of. So again, it's one of those things you should talk to your agent about it, but if you have any questions, talk to a lawyer about it too. We can give you the worst case scenarios and the horror stories that you may decide you want to go ahead and get that extra coverage. So